Utah is going to dominate this year. It's going to be going through that conference. It's kind of unfair. It's like throwing a bear in a cat cage with Utah going into the Big 12.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast preview of Big 12 football. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with us today, full cavalcade of stars, starting with Captain for Life, Will Cotton. Will, it's Big 12 time. How you feeling, man?
Feeling great. No golf today. Rain. So all in on college football.
All right, academic and athletic consultant from CKA Save Project, and yes, I have my pen with me, George Ocker. George, can't wait to talk to you today. How you feeling?
Blessed to be here. Had a little hiccup right there, but blessed to be here.
Always a pleasure. And our favorite administrator, and we will be talking about a lot of Texas stuff, Robert Abney. Robert, I got my pen again for you too. How we doing?
Living the dream every day. I've been on the road the past few weeks. I'm looking forward to being home for a few days.
All right. Yes, indeed. So the Odd Coaches Podcast college football preview shows are designed for the casual fan to get you excited for the season. And yes, we will talk about things strictly for entertainment purposes only. In segment one, we will cover the big of the Big 12, meaning the teams you will probably care about. In segment two, we will cover the rest of the Big 12. And in segment three, we predict bowl eligible teams, conference winners, and any college football playoff participants. But first, let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. Colorado. 5.5 is the over-under. Deshaun worn off very quickly in Boulder last year, but that team was terrible. And Dion won more games than the previous administration. They do return Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, and hopefully they got some linemen in the transfer portal. George, let's get this out of the way. What do you think, Colorado, over under 5.5, and any thoughts on the Buffaloes?
I think we'll see an improved team this year. He did go out and do a lot of recruiting, and he got some guys to fill in because their big problem last year was keeping Shedeur upright. There was a couple games there I was worried if he was going to make it through, so that has changed. Over under 5. Literally, looking at their schedule this year, I probably can see them. I can see them getting 6 and being bowl eligible this year, which will be a massive step for that program and for Colorado in general. And of course, we'll add more shine to Dion's profile. So yeah, I could see them getting 6 and making a bowl game.
All right, and fans, we will not do this for every team in the Big 12, but everybody wants to talk about Colorado. So, Will, over under 5.5. What do you think about Colorado?
Oh, like George says, man, the biggest thing was the O-line. But they went back and they got this kid, Jordan Seaton, 6'5", 295, 5-star, got him going to the Colorado. They got a lot of guys in the portal. One dude is like 6'10", 315. So I mean, height doesn't really mean anything, but they're getting big guys, and that's what they knew to keep they need their quarterback protected. I was looking at the schedule, like George says, I don't see any like Hulks. There are some good teams for sure, but I don't see any impossible teams. 5.5, I think they should do it. But to be honest with you, if they don't, that's a very, very disappointment if they don't make a bowl game. I'll be 100% be very disappointed for Prime if he did not make the bowl game, because this is a very easy schedule, as you know, better than he'll see in a long time. He actually has some talent, some height. This is the second year in the program. So I think, like George says, I think they should get 6 wins. I'd be disappointed if they don't.
All right, Robert, again, we won't do this with everybody, but how are we feeling about Colorado to start the year off, over under 5.5?
You know, it's hard to tell with all the talking that comes out of there, and not just the talking that comes out of there, but everybody wanting to talk about them like us. I mean, can they keep Shedeur Sanders upright, and can they find some defensive guys that can put pressure on quarterbacks. That's the two big things they got to be able to do. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the volume is after their first game in terms of how they're talking, and maybe we'll get a little better feel after that.
All right. So now, fans, here we go with everybody else. Utah. I like Utah. Over unders 9.5. They enter the season favorite in the Big 12. They play really, really good football at Utah, and they have the 7th-year senior Cam Rising, who won Pac-12 titles. That's a lot of football, but we're going to keep moving. Kansas State. Shout out to Dr. Lisa Rubin, friend of the show and friend of mine. Over unders 9.5. Kansas State is the second choice to win the Big 12, and I think they're going to do really well. George, any thoughts on Utah or Kansas State?
Yeah, well, Utah is going to dominate this year. It's going to be going through that conference. It's kind of unfair. It's like throwing a bear in a cat cage with Utah going into the Big 12. They were ready to rock and roll last year, and if it hadn't been for a bunch of injuries, actually past 2 years, if it hadn't been for a bunch of injuries, they probably would have won the the Pac-12. I guess that's what it used to be called. Yeah, the Pac-12. So they wind up, that changes from time to time. So anyway, they would have won that easily going away. They're built off a heavy run game, and then Rising doing whatever you can do. And believe me, Rising will probably get hurt again. So because he's injury prone, so the backup quarterback can spin it too. So yeah, I like Utah. Kansas State and Oklahoma State, but we'll get to Oklahoma State. They'll probably fight for second. We're going back to Colorado real quick. We'll find out what's going on with Colorado with that first game of the season. They got to play North Dakota State. If any of you guys know about North Dakota State, who've won the Sub Bowl Conference Championship like 800 times, we're gonna know exactly what's going on with Colorado as soon as right after that first game of the year.
All right. So Kansas over under 8.5. Kansas as a program has done a marvelous job of just being relevant. So congratulations to them. Iowa State over under 7.5. They return a lot of players as well. Will, we've made a couple of bucks off Kansas and Iowa State. Any thoughts on them going into the season?
Tough teams. They're not going to follow, not going to, like sleep or fall over. They're going to play hard. And I expect anyone to go against them. If you play them on the early, you might get hit on an upset because they play hard and they have nothing to play for and nobody's looking at them. But they hit hard, man. I watch them. Shoo.
All right, Robert, I'm going to stop with you. Texas Tech over under is 7.5. They always seem to have some injuries that get in the way. Robert, where are they in the pantheon of teams in Texas? What do you think?
Well, so the head coach at Texas Tech, his name is Joey McGuire, and he's actually a former high school coach in Texas. He was a high school head coach and then went to the college level, and he gets a lot of guys. Not the 5-star guys, but he gets a lot of high-level guys because of the relationships he built while he was a coach here in Texas. So I actually had a couple of his top recruits this past season. I saw them for their respective high schools. And I mean, he's got some guys. He's got some guys, and they're gonna keep getting better because he does probably the best job of any of the Texas programs of maintaining those ties with Texas high schools and getting Texas kids. So I think they're gonna have a really good year.
It's going to be interesting this year with Texas and Oklahoma being gone, because Texas Tech, Baylor, and TCU were always the little brothers in that division, in that league. And with them gone, it's going to be interesting to see how that comes out and how they react. Because it's like, the only one that really played with them was Oklahoma State on year in and year out. it's like Baylor, Texas Tech, and TCU would take turns every year. One of them would be really good and be challenging. What we had TCU in the bowl championship series a couple years ago. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Like whose year is it this year? Is it TCU year? Is it Texas Tech year? Who's going to be the alpha out of the three little brothers this year? It's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
All right, and to close out this segment, a school close to my heart, UCF, University of Central Florida, over under 7.5. KJ Jefferson comes in from the big bad SEC from Arkansas. Gus Malzahn's they got money at UCF. They got facilities. Their fan base cares. My in-laws fans, for those of you new to the show, they live just an hour away from UCF, and I've been to games there, and I'm like, you know what? Y'all pretty good. So now that you're in the Big 12, we'll see what happens. And with that, in segment 2, a lot of other teams to talk about, some from Oklahoma, some from Texas. We'll be right back on the Coaches Podcast. This is Dr. Keith Adams, president of the CKA Safe Project, with a question for you. Are you passionate about supporting student athletes? If so, then become an official member of the CKA Safe Project and make a difference today. With your membership, you'll be able to help us provide essential academic and athletic support to underserved communities nationwide. Join us in empowering student athletes to achieve their full potential, both on and off the field. Together, we can build a brighter future through education and sports. Visit ckasafeproject.org and choose your membership level now. $25 is a bronze level membership, $50 is a silver level membership, and $100 is a gold level membership. Be a part of the change. Become a member of the CKA Safe Project today. Welcome back to the Ad Coaches Podcast in segment 2 of our Big 12 preview. Let's get to the rest of the team. Oklahoma State, over under is 7.5. They made the Big 12 title game through the back door last year. Should be in the mix. Not overly a fan of Mike Gundy, as you've heard over the years on the show. George, any thoughts on Oklahoma State?
This is going to be business as usual in Stillwater. He's going to wind up finding a way, like he does every year, to come right in the back door and either win or be in the Big 12 championship game. I mean, it's not going. I don't think it even makes a difference that Texas and Oklahoma are gone, because I don't think that's going to stop Oklahoma State's train from moving. I think they're still going to be in the mix for the championship. I am going to miss Bedlam, which I always love, because always some exciting things happen during Bedlam. But yeah, they're going to be right there for a championship. If I have to go look at it, it'll probably be Utah versus Oklahoma State in that championship.
All right. TCU, over under 7.5. They're going to look to capture some success that they've had in the past. Robert, you're in Texas. Where's TCU in the 15 to 20 Texas football teams in Division I?
Well, I mean, SMU, I think, has been sucking up all the attention in the DFW Metroplex, but I wouldn't sleep on TCU. They're going to be better than they were last year. I think last year we keep talking about injuries. It's really about if you can keep your guys healthy, obviously. But they struggled a little bit last year. I think they'll be better this year. You know, that pattern with TCU, they build up and then they fall off a little bit and then they build back up. They'll be back.
Okay. Hey, go ahead.
Quick shout out to TCU and my boy Johnny Hodges, starting linebacker for him. QO grad. I had to give him love. Some love.
No problem. All right, Arizona, regular season, over under 7.5. They're now in the Big 12. They had a very good end of season last year. Will, we made a couple of dollars off Arizona. How do you think they're going to do in the Big 12?
They'll probably take a drop off a little bit just because their competition is rising a little bit. They got some teams that they haven't played before. They, flying around the United States, places they haven't do. But also, they're still gonna have those like with those 9 p.m. kickoffs, those 10:30 kickoffs for us. So I hope I get to see some of them. And they're always been a tough team, but I think they'll struggle a little bit with the conference until they figure it out. I think they still have a small offensive line, and the Big 12 is, that's all about big offensive linemen. So I think they'll struggle this year, but I think they'll be fine in the years incoming. But I think for right now, give me the under on this, John.
All right. Arizona State over unders 4.5. Year 2 of Kenny Dillingham. He's a pretty young coach. I'll watch them strictly for entertainment purposes only because they're coming off a 3-win season, and we stayed just about a block or two away from Arizona State when I was at the Final Four. So good luck to them.
They
Robert, I'm
travel
coming.
well.
They do.
Arizona State, man, I was in New York, and they had an Arizona State bar. And I was like, of all places, I do. And the bartender told me, he was like, they come all the time. Like they fill up the bar, and as soon as the game's over, they leave. They had like they kind of following like that. I had no idea.
Yeah, because they're smart enough to go to school in Arizona State, but not stay in the state of Arizona once they graduate because it's hot. It's hot.
Yeah.
All right. Baylor. Over under is 5.5. They fell off big time last year. Robert, again, where's Baylor in the mix in terms of coverage and following in Texas?
Well, Waco is like almost exactly halfway between Dallas and Austin, right? And that, I think Baylor kind of gets forgotten about, at least on the football scene. Dave Aranda, he's had a few good years. Last year was not a good year. There's pressure on him. He's got to make a bowl game this year. That's been made pretty clear. They just finished a facilities upgrade. They have a brand new indoor facility that they're finishing up. There's good stuff going on there. There's money there. But I don't. Last year they really struggled on offense. Their quarterback play wasn't very good. So getting this guy from Toledo is probably going to help them. I think they can make a bowl game, but they have to make a bowl game if Dave Aranda is going to keep his job.
All right. WVU, West Virginia, over under 6.5. They get it in Morgantown, and if Follerin was here, he would confirm that. But I don't know how good they're going to do this year. BYU, over under 4.5. They were competitive last year, but can you keep these recruits coming into Provo, if I'm not mistaken? Cincinnati, George, I'm going to pause with you on Cincinnati. Over under 5.5. Project Cincinnati was a big deal first year of the show, and since then we haven't mentioned Cincinnati much. What do you got going on in Cincinnati, sir?
Well, they're still trying to recover. I mean, their head coach who had them in the bowl championship series, Luff, and he went and took another job. I think he's at Rutgers now or somewhere. But when he left, a lot of the recruits left. So they've been floundering.
And it's Wisconsin, sir.
Yes.
It's Wisconsin.
So I'm looking at it right now, and especially we know that the college football is crazy, but this setup is crazy for West Virginia and Cincinnati because they spend half their time on a whole nother time slot, a different coast, a different spot. So it's a tough situation for them. It's going to continue to be tough for both of those programs. I know they got into the Big 12 for the money, the exposure, but financial wise and player wise, this is going to be, it's a tough situation for them because, West Virginia and Cincinnati going to be taking 5-6 hour plane rides across the country. And, then going to have to play and get themselves together. So it's hurting them. So neither Cincinnati or West Virginia have recovered from those glory days, and it's going to be a minute before they do.
All right, and to close out this segment, I'm going to Robert. Houston, over-unders 4.5. Their basketball program is national. Houston wants to be national, but they're projected to have the worst record in the Big 12. Can you talk to us about Houston? And again, a lot of teams in Texas. Where is Houston at in that mix?
I don't, I don't go down to Houston a lot, so I don't know where they are in terms of like even the Houston sports pecking order, where Houston football is. I mean, basketball is obviously a big thing. Football has struggled, but I mean, the thing you have to remember, there's 1,600 high schools in Texas. There are a few kids here who can play football, and they got to go out and find those guys and keep them around. So it's probably going to take them a minute to get going again. But I mean, can they do it? Are there resources there? Yeah. Is the Big 12 the best place to build your football program? I don't know, man.
All right,
Hey, Keith,
go ahead.
Real quick. They were good. I mean, until Cam Ward got hurt playing quarterback for him, and they were looking to be a viable bowl team. But the coach left, Cam Ward leaves, and a number of other guys left. So they're basically going into Big 12 with program rebuilding year, man. So it's gonna be a tough situation for them.
I mean, the coach Willie Fritz had some success at Tulane, so he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
But these big conferences like this, building programs, I mean, you got to be able to get players in a hurry. That's the name of the game, and I don't know if he can do it down there.
Well, it's Houston. It's a big city. They have money. They have resources. And as we said with South Florida and the American, you shouldn't be a over under 4.5 team in Texas. Close us out, Will. What are you thinking?
It's still new, all this is new for them. They want to see what we actually grab. Like you said, it's a hotbed. You got to grab the best players from Houston. I mean, they have amazing players, amazing kids. The facility, like you said, is going to attract people. It's a professional team, so there's the Texans around, so they should have a relationship and build more kids over. It's coming. It's coming. I think this is going to be one of those eye-opening kind of years where they're like, okay, this ain't what it was. Now we're in the Big 12. And I think they'll rectify all of that and they'll get everything they need. I give them maybe if they have, and the thing is, they're not perennial kind of power. So not everyone's like, oh, well, what's going on with Houston? I think they have time, money, and I think in a couple of years, they're going to show us that they were able to really make the right decision by going to Big 12 for sure.
All right. And I think they fired their AD or something.
Yeah, everything's going to change. So he'll come in and then they'll bring a whole different architect and a kind of idea what he wants to do. And again, Houston is a great city. I've been. It's really nice. So you can bring kids here. You can older kids like the transfer portal. You bring people in. And of course, there's no what they call it,
state tax.
Yeah. So NIL, right? So they got that too.
Right. So with that, fans, in segment 3, we're going to go bowling and also see who might make the CFP out of the Big 12. We'll be right back on the iCoaches Podcast. This is Dr. Keith Adams, president of the CKA Save Project and author of Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. This book is your key to unlocking the secrets of being a successful student athlete. Drawing from my 30-year career as a teacher and coach, this instructional guide offers a unique perspective on achieving success in both academics and athletics. With over 15 personal stories and insightful antidotes. Finding the Balance is a must-read for student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators. Visit www.ckasafeproject.org to get your copy and start finding the balance today. Welcome back to the Our Coaches Podcast in segment 3. It's time to talk bowling. So just like the Big Ten and the ACC and the SEC, you know you're going to see some Big 12 teams in the college football playoffs. So unlike the other Power 4 conferences, the Big 12 bowl affiliation is a little more fluid. The former Pac-12 teams will still play in Pac-12 bowls. So here is the likely pecking order for bowls in the Big 12 outside of the college football playoffs. The Valero Alamo Bowl, the Pop-Tarts Bowl, the Tax Act Texas Bowl. Have you even heard of that one, Robert? All right, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, the Guarantee Rate Bowl, and again, one of my favorites, the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl. And then they also have an affiliation with the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, as well as the Serve Pro First Responder Bowl. So here are my predictions for bowl eligible teams: Utah, Kansas State, Kansas, Iowa State, Texas Tech, UCF, Oklahoma State, TCU, Arizona, and West Virginia. Conference winner, my projection is Utah, and potential college football playoff participants, Utah and Kansas State. George, any thoughts in terms of the postseason about the Big 12?
Utah will be my pick to make the 12th, and after that,
they got to get another one in, right?
They got to.
They're only going to get one. I don't see any other one. If they do get one more out of the 12, it'll be Oklahoma State. See, the problem with their conference is they're going to be fighting because it's going to be so weak when we come to the rankings at the end of the year. I think they're going to be in the fight with the Tulanes and stuff and the JMUs of the world, getting those last couple seeds going in. You got to realize once we hit that 12, because then it's the top, the ranked teams underneath, that's going to be a dog fight between SEC, Big Ten, and ACC. So the Big 12's always been little brother, and they're going to continue to be little brother. I think it was Texas and Oklahoma gave them a little clout, but now that they're gone, their clout is gone. They're going to have to reestablish it. So it's going to be, they're in the dog fight to get a second team in.
Robert, can two teams from the Big 12 make the CFP in your opinion?
Yeah, I think that I think we'll get both the champion and the runner-up in. I think it's going to be, I have no idea who the runner-up is going to be. I think the winner will be Utah, and I do think both of those teams will get in. But I still think we're looking at the SEC getting a whole lot of teams in and everybody else getting like one, maybe two.
It's only 12, man. It's only 12. Will, what do you think? Again, it's only 12. Can the Big 12 get to?
Nah, I would say if it was a safe bet, give me just one Utah. I think that'd be a safe bet. And I also want to add, you didn't think that Colorado was going to be bowl eligible?
No. So let's again, this is a no bum conversation. They're not very good. And this has nothing to do with Dion, Shador, or anything. When Dion got the job, they were coming off of a 1-win season. So they won 4 last year. Okay. No matter what, that's better. Now they're in a new conference. A new conference. And you're expecting them with that level of depth to make it to 6 wins? I just think that's unfair. But the national media is going to go crazy. And I'm still a coach saying, man, if you can get to 5 wins, we went from 1 to 4 to 5. We're progressing the right way. But the national media will take that in a different direction. They're just not very good.
I think they look at the teams and they think they can win. I mean, when you lose the boogeyman, when the boogeyman gone, I think if I'm Colorado, even though I'm new, I'm like, shoot, Oklahoma gone, Texas is gone. Shoot, why not? Why not? Why can't I get 6 wins?
George, am I
I
crazy
think
with
that's the
that?
belief.
Am I crazy with that? Because again, it's depth, and I didn't see you block anybody last year, and you can't just plug and play offensive linemen. That
No,
it just you're the football guy, George. It tends not to work that way. Am I crazy?
no, he did not have the personnel last year, but they did a hell of a job recruiting. And they worked the transfer portal. I have to give Deion credit. He might be the best transfer portal coach in the country. I mean, he really is. And but like I said, we're gonna see game one what they're all about. We're gonna see game one if the offensive line has gotten any better, and we're gonna see if that defensive line has gotten any better because North Dakota State's gonna run the ball down your throat. And they can do it against anybody, anywhere, anytime, any place. So we're going to see what they're about right then and there, that first game of the season.
And Robert, you're my voice of reason. Again, am I crazy? Did I go out of the pocket? I just don't think their depth is very good, and they're playing big boy football, 12 games this year or whatever.
Their depth is definitely not enough to get them through an entire season in the Big 12 and win 9-10 games. Can they win 6 games? Yeah, they can. I'll tell you right now, if they don't beat North Dakota State that first game, it's not happening.
All right. Go ahead, George. You can finish this off.
I'm looking at their schedule. I mean, they got Baylor, they can beat. They got Arizona, they got Cincinnati. They're actually it's pretty tough, but I think actually I'm looking at the back end, and when your depth is bad, the back half of the season is challenging. But they can, I think they can probably squeeze. I think they can probably they can get 5. I can see them get 6. I can see them getting 6.
See how we're talking? I can see them getting 6.
But the
Not
problem
if they
is
don't beat North Dakota State.
no, if they don't beat North
Dakota State.
They don't beat
it's not as good as last year, and they did lose some stuff. But Robert's right again. You can't come out of the box at home losing to North Dakota State.
No. North Dakota State reloads. So don't talk about they're not going to be as good as last year. They just reload. So don't start.
The difference is going to be, you're talking about your size. You're talking about your size up front. They're going to be not quite as big. Maybe they're really, really good, but there might be a little bit of a size difference. Colorado can't lose that game.
Yeah, they're legit. And Robert, I disagree because I don't think there's a size difference. North Dakota State brings wood. I mean, they got big boys up there. So if that defensive line cannot do what it's supposed to do, there's going to be problems. That's going to be a problem. That game's going to be tough. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, and if they have to score, if they have to drive down and score with 17 seconds left to win, and it's 38-35, that doesn't exactly bode well for them either.
All right.
That's true. Yeah.
All right. So we started talking about Colorado. We ended talking about Colorado. Utah will win. So on behalf of our Cavalcade of Stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and for watching the Odd Coaches podcast. And we'll see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram @OddCoaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram @CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram @Coach Franchise, spelled Coach FRANCHIZE. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.